Taoiseach, one of the biggest issues, as you know, in areas of significant deprivation is the impact of drug addiction and the impact it has on the individuals, the families and the communities in that area. Now, I've often heard government spokespeople pay lip service to the idea that we need to move away from the criminal approach to dealing with this problem and take a health related approach. But in fact, we haven't done that at all. And I wonder, when are we going to actually realise that the so-called war on drugs is a disastrous failure and that we need to start to deal with this as a health issue? I mean, the fact is, you know, you can't bemoan criminal activity if simultaneously the state effectively criminalises huge cohorts of our young population. And that's what we're doing. And the consequences are a total failure that particularly impacts on the most disadvantaged areas. So when are we going to get serious policy change in that area?
The whole issue then of drug addiction, and I favour a health-based approach to drug addiction, essentially, as opposed to a criminalisation approach. And there's always a balance to be struck in terms of how approaches this. But essentially, we need stronger supports for people who are addicted across the board, be it alcohol, be it gambling, be it drugs. And I think we have to develop a culture of support, a supportive culture, but also professional, enhancing and increasing professional capacity to deal with addiction in the strongest possible way. And the health should be front and centre. The health services should be front and centre of that approach. And that's where we're heading as a government. That's where our policy is focused on. I think I've with Deputy Patrick's points in relation to using this model for other areas, although you did, I think, raise the issue of the report "No Child Should Suffer." I think, in my view, one of the challenging aspects of all of this, despite my view, is that we need consistent long-term funding of areas of disadvantage, to use that phrase, where the metrics aren't right, where early school leaving is still too high, where patterns of education attainment is not similar to the average across the country. Like, as a country, we have very high levels of school completion, but in certain areas of the country, that is not the case. And therefore, we need consistent. There's been too much stop-start. Initiatives happen, they work for 5 years or 10 years, they're pulled back. Sometimes, if they're successful, they're pulled back. Whereas I actually think if they're successful, we should keep it going. Because sometimes we pull the rug from underneath the providers.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
So that's, I think that the whole thing really should be about changing the cycle.
Thank you. We're way over.